whether the team is performing clean or unsightly. We'll cover it all here on Washington Football Nightly. I, of course, am your host, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. Let's get to tonight's lead story. So, it's a culture pop quiz. No, not talking about the latest hot single killing the charts. Nah, talking about Ron Rivera's culture and the pop quiz that came up this week with the news of their head athletic trainer, Ryan Vermillion, being on, administrative leave and essentially having his home and the facility raided as they're looking for more evidence of prescription drugs. It seems to be the word on the street. And I told you I thought that's what it was. I wasn't sure. But I don't want to really talk about that. I've already told you guys I'm not really concerned about that. My whole thing was, and really this whole time Ron's been here, we've talked about the culture. Got to change the culture. That was the first thing he had to do when he got here. Change the culture. This is the first test of the culture. This is the real first quiz. This one came out of nowhere. Some of the other ones you saw coming a mile away. The whole Washington Post article, well, we heard about that article 3 days before it dropped, and we started building up all of these crazy narratives and stories that we thought would be in there. And it ranged all the way from sex-laced, drug-induced parties to, bribing referees. None of that stuff was true. But we knew it was coming. We didn't see this one coming. Ron didn't see this one coming. I don't think he did, at least. There were inklings. The FBI had talked to some players in the offseason, so maybe they knew something. But if they thought it would come to this, I guarantee you Ryan Vermillion would not have been on the staff at the start of the regular season. So this came out of nowhere. At the end of the day, Ron has preached culture. He's preached important versus interesting. He's preached positional flex. These are all things that have been sticklers for Ron since he's gotten here. Well, all of them are going to be on display this week. And the outcome of the game is the only thing that matters. That's how we'll know if they passed the first culture pop quiz or not. How do they perform in the game on Sunday? Because Ryan Vermillion's absence this week has been felt. It's been talked about. Every single player and coach that has stepped up to the podium has been asked in some way, shape, or form about Ryan Vermillion, even if they have nothing to do with him. Even if they have nothing to do with what he does and his job, everybody's got a specific job to do. It's like an assembly line when it comes to an NFL team. Everybody's got their own job, and you really can't be concerned with what somebody else is doing. Ask Scott Turner what Jack Del Rio is doing, and he's like, I don't know what Jack Del Rio's doing. I got my own shit to worry about. Ask Jack Del Rio what Scott Turner's doing. He's like, I don't know what Scott Turner's doing. I got my own shit to worry about. Ask Chase Young what the secondary's doing. I don't know what the secondary's doing. We got our own shit to worry about on the defensive line. That's how it is in the NFL. Everybody's got their own thing to do. And if everybody does their job, usually it comes together beautifully and success happens. So no one really knows what the hell Ryan Vermillion does on a weekly basis. I can't tell you what the hell he does. He's the head athletic trainer. What the hell does that even mean? I don't know. But guess what? These players don't know. They know that he helps them when they're injured with the rehab process and tells them what they should or shouldn't do. Hey, take this, do that. But at the end of the day, these players, they could care less about what's going on with that stuff. They got a football game to focus on, but they got asked about it this week. Ron was asked every single time. I think Ron talked on Monday. Ron talked on Wednesday. I think he talked on Wednesday. He might have talked on Tuesday. It might have been Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. We heard from Ron this week. I think. Or it might have been Monday, Thursday, Friday. I don't think we ever go that far without hearing from Ron. Whatever the case may be, every time Ron talked, he had to answer some form of a Ryan Vermillion question. Chase Young had to answer a Ryan Vermillion question. Terry McLaurin had to answer a Ryan Vermillion question. Okay? All of these guys that stepped up to the podium had to be asked about something non-football related that they have no control over. Interesting or important? We're going to find out how they deal with all of these outward distractions. Not to mention Ron talking about positional flex. That's been one of his sticklers. Hey, got to have guys that can do multiple things. Never know when injuries are going to crop up. Well, injuries have hit us this week, and guys are going to have to step up, and some positional flex and depth is going to be tested this week. We're going to get our first look at Ron's culture and just how good or how far it has to go to be good it is. Because if they go out and they find a way to beat the Saints amid all of the nonsense and scrutiny that went on this week, not to mention the defense that continues to struggle, you got to give your hat off to Ron. You got to take your hats off to Ron and say, hey, shit's changing around here. If we go out, get our doors blown off by the Saints at the crib, then it's same old Washington football team. Same old song. Got some off the field shit happening, distracts the team, they can't focus, they go out, they get their doors blown off. Same Washington football team. Different administration, different head coach, different message, same shit. Here's the test. We can talk about what we want to do and what this is and how it's changing. Here's the evidence. Here's the empirical proof. Go out and win on Sunday. Show us that the culture's changing. We're going to find out. I think there's a test coming this weekend. That test is the New Orleans Saints. They'll be prepared. I don't think they're all that great of a football team, but I know they're coached well by Sean Payton. I do know that. I know their defense with Dennis Allen is coached well. They'll be prepared and they'll be ready. Will we? We'll see. Only time will tell. It's a pop quiz. Let's see if they pass or fail this weekend. See what happens with this culture. Important versus interesting. Positional flex. All of those things Ron's has talked about going to be put to the test this weekend. Pass or fail. Only one way to find out. Let's hope we're on the right side of that thing and we come back with an A-, A+, B+. I'll take it. Let's come back with the dub. As we go to in other news, injuries have been a big part of the storyline this week. We're going to take a look at the injury report for both teams here in a second. One of the biggest names on the injury report is Curtis Samuel. We're going to have an update on him and what happened today with him at practice. But another name that's starting to really gain some traction that I kept dismissing. He's fine. Maybe he's not all that fine. Let's take a look at this injury report and I will expound upon that here in a moment. So we know the names on the list. We know how long it is, okay? I've told you guys, don't worry, don't panic. 9 out of the 12 guys on this injury report more likely than not will play. And I'm going to stick to that because I believe it wholeheartedly. I told you that from Wednesday when we first got a look at this injury report. So the bottom 6, let's just go ahead and knock these guys out because I told you guys this from the jump. They're playing. There's really no reason to even entertain the bottom 6. Jonathan Allen, DeShazer Everett, Matt Ioannidis, J.D. McKissick, James Smith-Williams, Benjamin St. Juste. All of those guys don't even have a designation for their game status, meaning they're playing. Okay, now I think there's an error here being made on Dyami Brown. We'll get to that in a second, but all of those guys are playing. Okay, all of them were full participants today. Nothing to see here. Move on. So now we go to the top half, the first 6. That was always the focus of the injury report for Washington. Okay, so Dyami Brown, I told you he's not going to play. Well, he has a little dash. Usually that indicates, oh, he's fine. Nothing to see here. Move on. He's not going to play. He's out just like Sheriff and Cam Sims are out. Why he doesn't have out next to his name like Sheriff and Cam Sims do, Beyond me. I can't tell you what that actually means, but De'Ami Brown is not playing this week. He hasn't practiced this week. No one's seen him on the field at all. He wasn't out there stretching on the side field or anything. He's not playing this week. And that's okay. We already knew this. This is not a surprise. So I don't know why he has a dash next to his name. That's a little odd, but we'll continue to just assume that he's out, just like Sheriff and Cam Sims. Now, the three guys of this group that I thought would play, despite not having a lot of practice time this week, was Antonio Gibson, Cole Holcomb, and yes, Curtis Samuel. Never, ever trust a man with two first names. Now, Antonio Gibson's shin. I'm starting to worry a little bit about his shin. So, that was something that I kind of was like dismissing, like, oh, okay, whatever. It's not a big deal. But all of a sudden now, I'm starting to worry because now I'm hearing that Antonio Gibson has a stress fracture in his shin. That can't be comfortable, and that's not something that just heals up while you're taking more shots on your shin. So I'd be lying to you if I said I'm not a little concerned. He didn't practice on Wednesday. He was limited on both Thursday and today. He's going to play in the game, but I just thought it was like a shin contusion. Oh, he got kicked in his shin. It's bruised a little bit. It'll heal up. The swelling will go down. He'll be fine. Not exactly. Not exactly. We're talking about a real big injury here that I don't know if it's going to heal or not. But the fact that he has a stress fracture in his shin is a bit alarming and concerning. I still think he's going to play this week, but that's something to keep an eye on, not just this week, but moving forward. But I do think he's going to give it a go. I wouldn't be shocked if we saw a little less Antonio Gibson, a little bit more J.D. McKissic, and even a little bit more Jaret Patterson. And now, all of these times we keep hearing them, going out and looking at some of these backs like Bonafide. They worked him out on Monday. And I think last week they worked out the running back from Temple, Raquel Armstead. Now it's all starting to make sense. That's why they were kind of sniffing around these running backs just in the event that Antonio Gibson's stress fracture is too much for him to bear. That's one to keep an eye on, but I think he'll give it a go this week. Cole Holcomb, I was never really worried about him. He's a tough guy. Anything short of a concussion with Cole, if he can go, he's going to go. So I wasn't really too concerned about Cole, and he's going to go. I'm not worried about him. Curtis Samuel was the one I was worried about the most. He was the guy that I said, you know what? If somebody of this trio doesn't go, it'll be him. I was worried. I'm not going to lie to you. I told you guys yesterday, I'm a little concerned. Everybody else went limited that I thought was going to play. Yesterday, Curtis Samuel did not. Now, the good thing was he was out on the side field yesterday. So that was positive, which led me to believe and continue to keep up the hope that, hey, he's going to play this weekend. Well, he was limited today, and Ron said he looked good. And he said, we'll see how he feels tomorrow. You know how Ron is about that the day after. And he said if he continues going in the direction that he's going in right now, he should be able to suit up on Sunday. That's great news. We'll see how it goes. My fingers are crossed. I think he's going to play, but we will see. Feeling really good about where we are after looking at this initial injury report on Wednesday and where we are today. I feel really good. This is probably the best case scenario. And I set the stage for it on Wednesday when I told you 9 out of the 12 guys were going to play. And it looks like that's going to come to fruition. So I think we're actually going to come out of this thing with the best possible scenario. And we'll see how it goes from there. Hopefully some of these guys, feel a lot better after this game. And we don't incur any new injuries. And we can start to heal up a little bit because the bye week is still a month away. So got to find a way to gut through this and get through it because still got 3 more games after this one. before we get to the bye week. So as far as the Saints are concerned, I told you those two offensive linemen, if I were the coach of the Saints, knowing that these guys are so vital to our success and you got a bye week next week, I'm not bringing these guys back until the bye week, after the bye week. So Eric McCoy, their center, who's a really good center, and Teron Armstead, who when healthy is one of the best left tackles in football, are both out of this football game, which I thought would be the case. Marshawn Lattimore, I told you he shouldn't even be on the injury report, but because his hand is broken and he's currently wearing a cast, he has to be on the injury report, but he's been playing for the last 2 weeks. He's going to play this week, and you've seen that by the fact that he's practiced fully every single day. And then JT Gray, who hasn't been on the injury report the last couple of times. Washington, for some reason, didn't have it. But I actually did a spot with a New Orleans Saints YouTuber the other day. He had JT Gray. That was the first time I had heard of it. I mean, he's a third-string special teams ace, so it's not somebody we really need to concern ourselves with, but he's going to play, as you can see, as well. So that's what it looks like. Hopefully that offensive line that has, been in flux a bit due to these injuries, we may be able to take advantage of that this week. We will see, but I can tell you what, our chances are a lot better without their starting center and left tackle. That's for sure. So Curtis Samuel, more likely than not, going to go. I'm a little alarmed by the Antonio Gibson report. He told reporters today that he does have a stress fracture on his shin. Yikes. So that's something to keep an eye on. I talked about this yesterday, and I think I did it on the Saints program as well, that I expect DeAndre Carter to have a much bigger role, this week, with whether Curtis Samuel plays or not. He's not going to be able to play a ton of snaps, obviously. So DeAndre Carter, and I thought something that Scott Turner said yesterday was really interesting when he talked about DeAndre Carter. He's like, look, I didn't know this guy before this year, but he said he is serious about his craft. He's a guy that is not just a return man, but he's actually a guy that I trust at the receiver position. He said, look, that route, he said, I told him after the game, I'm more excited about the catch and run you had on the final game, game-winning drive than the kickoff return for the touchdown. And he said, what's so crazy about that route is that he hasn't run that route all camp. He didn't run it all week. He's never done that with us. And yet, because of the circumstances, he got thrusted into the game, ran it, got open, and made a play. So he's like, we're really excited about DeAndre Carter. And I told you guys, he can do a lot of the things that Curtis Samuel can do. He's not Curtis Samuel, but he can do a lot of those things. Okay, so they have confidence in him. If they have confidence in him, I have confidence in him. We heard a lot of good things about this guy at camp, about how he was making plays and he was making these ridiculous acrobatic catches. And so he's a guy that I think can help as a receiver. And other guys are going to have to step up. With Diami out, with Cam Sims out, other guys are going to have to step up. Cam Sims wasn't a huge role offensively for this team this year, but he would have been the next guy up with Diami out. Now both of those guys are out, so they're looking for a Z receiver right now. If Curtis Samuel can play, he's going to offer us that. But remember, he'll be on a pitch count. He won't be back to normal and be able to play 54 snaps in this game. He'll probably be on a 15 to 20, snap pitch count, which he exceeded last week, but they'll have more guys up this week. Dax Milne will be up, and they'll probably pull up another guy from the practice squad, whether that's AGG or Kelvin Harmon. They'll pull up another guy, and they'll keep the party going. So at the end of the day, when you look at how things have unfolded, we're going to see the true depth and the positional flex of this football team be tested, because now you're asking guys to do multiple things. See if they can do it, because Terry's going to need some help. Obviously, he's going to be one-on-one with Marshawn Lattimore. Lattimore is one of the better corners in the NFL. They're going to try to take Terry out of the game, somebody else. And not to say that Terry won't do work, because I expect if he gets one-on-one, which I think the Saints are going to be brash and bold and think that their guy can beat our guy, Terry's going to win his fair share of battles in that one-on-one matchup. He's going to lose some too. All in all, somebody's got to help. Whether it's Curtis Samuel, DeAndre Carter, Adam Humphries, somebody else has got to help. we'll see what happens. But should be a fascinating watch. That is for sure. And then one little side note, Nate Kazor spoke today, special teams coordinator, and he talked about Dustin Hopkins, and he made some great points, points that I've made to you guys as well. But it sounds so much better coming from the special teams coordinator, because he knows what the hell he's talking about. So he was talking about Dustin Hopkins and how Hopkins and I call this the money distance, 40 to 49. You've heard me say that multiple times. From the money distance, that's the distance that gets you paid in this league. Look, I want you to make your 53 and 54 yarder, and it's cool when you see kickers kicking from 56 and banging it home. That's not our guy, even though he has the leg to do it. But you're not going to kick a lot of those in an NFL game. Whether your coach just decides, you know what, let's just go for it. It's 4th and 2. I'm kind of in no man's land. Sure, I can kick a 56-yarder, but it's 4th and 2. Let's go for it. Or you decide to punt it because the defense is playing well or whatever the case may be, or it's windy and you're like, nah, I don't really want to try that. There's usually circumstances that dictate whether you can or can't attempt a long field goal. That said, you're going to kick it from your drive stalls out at the 31. You're going to kick a 49-yard field goal. Your drive stalls out at the 27. You're going to kick a 45-yard field goal. Your drive stalls out at the 20. You're going to kick, a 38-yard field goal. Dustin Hopkins from 40 to 49 is perfect on the season. And Nate Kazor said, look, he's tied for the most attempts from 40 to 49 yards. And he's tied for the highest percentage, obviously having not missed from that range this season. Again, Hopkins has only missed 1 kick this season. Keep that in mind. Okay, would have been 2 had Dexter Lawrence not jumped off sides, but who's keeping count anyway, right? Who's keeping score? Actually, we are. But that's besides the point. He's only missed 1 kick, non-extra point related. So it's not like he's having this terrible season that you guys try to make it out to be. It's just that those 2 extra points almost cost us a game. That missed field goal that wasn't because of the offsides almost cost us a game, but it didn't. So he keeps getting away. So you can keep sweeping things under the rug, but we all know, and they know, that, if things go differently, we could be 0-4 right now, and Dustin Hopkins is sitting there as one of the reasons why. But that hasn't happened, and Hopkins actually hasn't been terrible. And so Kazor's like, look, this guy can kick. He said, just today I watched this guy kick a plus 60 kick, like 62 yards in practice. Like, we know he's got the leg. That's not an issue. But he's like, it is frustrating when you're indoors in a controlled environment. And I just told you the guy from 40 to 49 is perfect on the season, and he can't make, he misses 2 extra points in a dome. That's frustrating. He said annoying or, disappointing, whatever, phrase you want to use. That's what he said. He understands, So I liked what Nate Kazor had to say, because it's not like he's not holding Dustin accountable, but he's like, look, these guys are hard on themselves, which they are. Dustin Hopkins is hard on himself. He knows nobody wants to let the team down. Everybody wants to do their job and do it adequately. As a place kicker, you either have 1 job or you have 2 jobs. If you're the kickoff specialist, which Dustin Hopkins is, then you've got 2 jobs. Kick the damn ball out of the end zone or kick it up high so the return team can get down there to cover the kickoffs if you're not going to be able to kick it out of the back of the end zone. And 2, make your damn field goals when you come on the field. Field goals and extra points. He don't want to let the team down. He's not doing it intentionally, but shit happens. You heard Terry after the game. Hey, thanks for picking me up, guys. After I had the drop that almost cost us the game because it almost was a fumble. The fact that the officiating booth chimed in and decided, hey, let's take a look at this. That was scary. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm watching the game and I'm thinking they're about to dick us right now, and they're going to give that football to Atlanta and we're going to lose. They're about to dick us right now. With the way those officials were calling the game, I thought they were about to take that game away from us. Luckily enough for us, it was called incomplete on the field. Had they called it a fumble on the field, we were screwed. That call was standing. Whatever it was going to stand. We got lucky. And after the game, Terry said, hey, thank you for picking me up, guys. That's what team is all about. Dustin Hopkins makes a mistake. Everybody else, pick him up. Shit happens. Chase Young had a big Big mistake. And again, I don't think it was a mistake. Jack Del Rio didn't think it was a mistake. Chase Young didn't think it was a mistake. Hell, most of us didn't think it was a mistake. But the officials did, and that's all that matters. No matter what we think, they thought it was a mistake. So they flagged him, and they ultimately got a touchdown out of it. You think Chase Young wanted to do that? You think he wanted to be flagged for a personal foul on 4th down when they got to turn it over on downs? No. Well, pick him up. It doesn't matter. It's done. They scored a touchdown. Pick him up. That's what team is all about. So I said all of that to say this. Get off of Dustin's back. Let the man continue to work through these issues that he's having because he's actually been really good this season. And I get it. It's frustrating. It ain't shit out on the streets is what I'm trying to tell you. If you want to go back and revisit this after the season, again, if he continues to kick the way that he's been kicking this year from a field goal standpoint, I'll take what he's given us. I think he's 6 of 7 on the season right now. He's making his kicks. Or 7 of 8. That's not the issue right now. If he continues to kick the way he's kicking, and he usually makes his extra points. Did miss a big one last year against the Seahawks, but generally speaking, he usually makes his extra points. Anyway, I just thought that was interesting listening to Nate Kazzer today. Let's get to behind enemy lines and give out the keys to the game for a victory over the New Orleans Saints. So I told you guys on yesterday's show, I believe, maybe it was Tuesday's show. I think it was yesterday's show. This is just as important as last week's game against the Atlanta Falcons. This is the reddest orange you can get. You don't win this game, even though the Chiefs are vulnerable, even though I think the Packers on the road are potentially vulnerable. Who in the hell is afraid of us if we can't take care of business? I'd love to go into that Chiefs game next week riding a 2-game win streak with a bunch of confidence. That's what it's going to take to beat Kansas City, by the way. Having a bunch of confidence coming into that game. Hey, we can do this. You lose this game and your confidence goes back down to 0 and you got to build it back up again. The confidence meter is up to about 35-40% right now. You're just coming off of a win. You're feeling good. Here comes the Saints. You're going back home. You just went on a road trip and split it in half. You're feeling good about yourself. Coming off of the win, you're like, yeah, we can do this. You beat the Saints, and then that confidence factor and energy bar goes all the way up to about 75-80%. And that's what you need if you're going to beat the Chiefs. But that doesn't happen if you don't win this game. So let's talk about what we need to do to win this game. The first thing, we're going to start with Washington's offense versus the Saints defense. Start fast is the first key. You know what it is. You know how this goes. All right. They at least they didn't go 3 and out last week, but they only got 1 first down and then they had to punt. They need to start faster. Look, I did that hit with the Saints program the other day, and you know, in preparing for the game and that stream, I went down and, you know, I kind of crunched some numbers and went over some things that I thought were important that I was going to bring to you guys, but I needed to bring it to them first. So one of the things that I saw as a trend is that the Saints want to shorten the game. They want to run the football. They want to possess it, which is something we've struggled with in terms of getting the football away from other teams' offenses because we haven't been good on third downs. They want to shorten the game. They want to make this thing, you know, 24 to 10, 24 to 13. The score was literally 21 to 10 in the fourth quarter against the Giants. They've played in games this season where points haven't been just coming out of the sky. We've played in games that have been high scoring. Every single one of our games, stands for week 1, have been high scoring games. They want to play in the kind of game we played in week 1. They want to play in a 20 to 16 game. That's what the Saints want to do. That's not how they used to operate. But with Jameis Winston under center, that's how they operate now. You go look at all their games, stands for week 1, when they scored 38. Every one of their games, they scored 7 in week 2 versus Carolina. They scored 26, I believe, in week 3 versus New England. And last week, they scored 21. They're not a high-octane offense. I said the same shit about Atlanta, right? I said all of that to say this. We need to start fast in this game because if we fall down 10-0, this is one of those games where you may not have enough time to dig yourself out of a 2-score hole in the third quarter. like we had last week. You get down by, 8 points, or you get down by 9 in the third quarter because you started off slow and you were digging yourself out of this hole. You may not be able to rally back. You may not have enough time. Don't start down 14 or 10-0. Find a way to start fast, and the offense can help. Even if the defense gives it up on the opening possession, as they customarily do, you can respond. It doesn't have to be, well, the defense could get a stop. Yeah, we're aware of that, but we know right now they're struggling. You can help them out. Score on the opening possession of the game. Even if it's a field goal, get something. Start fast on offense. Next key to the game, offensive line showcase. So I've been pumping up this offensive line because nobody else seems to want to do so. And they've been outstanding since week 1. And they haven't had the biggest challenges. I've acknowledged that already. Since week 1, they've played against the Giants defensive line. They're not world beaters. The Buffalo Bills defensive line, no stars on that D-line. And they've played against the Atlanta Falcons. They got Dante Fowler Jr. That's about, well, Grady Jarrett's pretty damn good too, but none of those guys necessarily move the needle, even though Grady Jarrett and Dante Fowler Jr., they're not, minced meat. They're not chopped liver, but you can block those guys, okay? It's not Joey Bosa, who we faced in week 1. Well, we got one of those types of dogs in week 5 in Cameron Jordan, okay? Cam Jordan is one of those types of players. He's a 15 sack a season type of guy. When he's got it going, it's nothing for him to be doing this shit 5 times in a game. You don't want to see that because that means he just bagged the quarterback. So this will be the first time the offense has seen a defense that's going to pressure them. And when I say pressure them, I'm not just talking about, Cam Jordan winning a one-on-one matchup versus Sam Cosmi, because that's who he's going to be lined up pretty much the entire game. He's going to be lined up in front of Sam Cosmi. So this is going to be a test for the Rook. But Dennis Allen blitzes his ass off. We've been complaining about not blitzing enough because our blitzes don't look like the Saints blitzes or a Todd Bowles blitz. Our blitz is, hey, we got 5 defensive linemen on the field and we're going to rush all 5 of those guys. That's a blitz. That's technically a blitz. Anything over 4 guys rushing is a blitz. Well, when you put Matt Ioannidis, Jonathan Allen, and Deron Payne all down on the field, or Tim Settle, and you mix those guys in, it's 3 D tackles, and then you got Chase Young and Montez Sweat rushing on the outside, it's 5 guys. It's a blitz. Anyway, they're going to come with the pressure. And I was watching the Giants game, and they came after Daniel Jones's ass. Now, Daniel Jones made him pay. But early in the game, he was struggling with the pressure. All right? So they're going to come after Taylor Heinicke. They don't respect Taylor Heinicke. They don't. That's why they came after Daniel Jones the way that they did. They don't respect him, and they damn sure don't respect Taylor Heinicke. So they're going to come after him, and they're going to see if they can force him into a mistake or two. So the offensive line has to be on their P's and Q's, Y's and Z's this week. And they got to show that they're a legit group. The last 3 weeks, I think they have started to separate themselves and say, hey, we that unit, man. We going to get it done. Put it on our shoulders. We can take care of business. This is the week where I need to see the improvement from week 1 to week 5. Because these last 3 weeks, you've caught a break with no dominant players up front. And defenses that, let's be honest, haven't been all that aggressive coming after our quarterback. This is not the week that you're going to see a meek play caller from a defensive standpoint. Dennis Allen does not mind sending the dogs. Blitzing 6, coming with 5, doing it exotically. This is going to be a challenge. The offensive line has to step up. And I'll just say one more thing. Matter of fact, I'll save it for the next key, which is stay out of 3rd and long. Last week, I said win on the early downs. You know what we did last week? We won on the early downs. So I'm kind of saying the same thing, but what we did was we took it to another level last week, and I love that. And I want to do it again this week. We won on 1st and 2nd down to the point where we didn't face a lot of 3rd downs. We had 9 3rd downs last week. That's nothing in an NFL game, by the way. 9 3rd downs. You can face 7 third downs on 1 possession. We had 9 the entire game. For a good, measuring stick in comparison, the Falcons had 16. They almost doubled what we did in the game. But they put themselves in positions where they had to keep having to convert third downs. You don't want to be in that world. You don't want to live in a world where you got to continuously convert third downs. That's a scary world to live in, because all it takes is a batted ball. All it takes is a penalty. And all of a sudden, like we saw against the Bills, a 3rd and 2 turns into a 3rd and 12, and now you got to punt. You don't want to live in that world. It's not a fun world to be in. I like the world we lived in last week, where we're getting chunks on first down, or we're getting 6 on first down, and then we're converting the first down on second down. I like that world. But we have to stay out of 3rd and long in particular because of what I just referenced. Dennis Allen will come after you. They will be aggressive. They will try to speed up Taylor Heinicke. He will see pressure this week. I don't know how he's going to handle it. At some point, he's going to see pressure, right? He didn't see it in the Bills game when he struggled. The only pressure on him in that game was the scoreboard pressure. That every time he came on the field, we were down by more points than when he left the last time. So that started to mount, and he thought he had to do something about it. But he hasn't seen real pressure since week 1. I'm anxious to see what he does with it this week, because he's going to get it. And it's much easier to convert on a shallow cross against pressure on 3rd and 4 than it is, hey, we need 9. And they come in with an all-out pressure. Ugh, tough spot to be in. Especially when you're missing 2 receivers that might be out there and may be able to make plays for you. So it's imperative that we don't find ourselves in 3rd and 7 and 3rd and 8 and 3rd and 9 and 3rd and 11 in this game, because this ain't the team you want to do that against. The Saints right now are one of the best defenses in football. Statistically, they're one of the best defenses. They don't give up a bunch of points. They don't give up a bunch of yards. And so you have to find ways to get into manageable 3rd down situations. So if they do decide to come after you, you've got outlets that are quick that'll give you a chance to convert the 3rd down. Don't find yourself in 3rd and long in this game. You can't be in 3rd and long and expect to be successful this week. We didn't last week. I'd like to duplicate that this week if we can. Next key to the game, offensively, do whatever needs to be done. What do I mean by that? Hell, you're supposed to do that anyway. So wise man once told me, by any means necessary. You're supposed to do that anyway. Taylor Heinicke seems to be the king of by any means necessary. I'm specifically talking about the game plan. A lot of you get frustrated. Why didn't Scott Turner run the football there? We're not running the football enough. Well, let me just tell you something. The New Orleans Saints are giving up 66 yards per game on the ground. Okay? So just in case you were wondering, that ain't shit. Okay? Translation, we might find it a little tough to run the football this week. So, I said that to say this. Don't be afraid to abandon the run game altogether if need be. If Heinicke has to throw the bitch 45 times this week, so be it. I'm mentally preparing you so when you watch the game and you want to know why Scott Turner's like, to hell with the run game, let's just throw the bitch. You know why. The Saints, they not having it on the ground right now. And it's not for a lack of trying. It's not like the Saints have been down, by or up big in a lot of these games and it forced the other team to throw it. No, they've actually gotten their ass kicked in a couple of games. Or I shouldn't say that. They actually got their ass kicked in the game in Carolina. They were never really in that game. And so the Panthers wanted to run the football. And they still couldn't. The Giants were down. Daniel Jones had 407 yards passing. Okay. They were down in that game. So they had to throw it. But the Saints are really stout up front. They're aggressive. Like I said, they blitz. They don't just blitz to affect the passer. They run blitz as well. They're an aggressive unit. So running may not be in the cards this week. It may not be. I don't know if it will or won't. It may not be, though. And Scott Turner has to be okay with that. We know Scott has no problems dropping back and throwing it, 40 times if need be. But he's got to be able to recognize that and understand. And you as a fan base have to be okay with the fact that, yeah, they might have to throw it 45 times in order to beat the Saints. That's what the Giants had to do. And it worked. Sometimes you just got to say, all right, this is what you do best. Well, we're going to have to combat it with something else. So, look, if the run game's working, use it. And I'm not saying go into the game and totally abandon the run. Try it early. But just know if they shut it down, don't keep banging your head up against a brick. The one thing I can't stand, two things I can't stand. A 7-yard run on first down and then you throw it twice. And there are 2 incompletions and then you punt. That pisses me off. And then I can't stand a run on first down for 1 yard, and then you run it again on second down and you get 1 yard. Now it's 3rd and 8. That pisses me off too. We'll see what happens in this game, but I'm all for whatever needs to be done. Do that on offense. Do whatever needs to be done to get the win. And then finally, this is the most important thing. It usually is every week, but it's more so important this week than any other week thus far this season because this is what the Saints thrive off of. Forcing turnovers. Protect the Duke. Protect the Duke. We've been good this season when we've kept the turnovers relatively low. And we've had turnovers in just about every single week this year. I think we had one against the Chargers. We had one with Gibson obviously fumbled in the Chargers game. Heineke threw the pick against the Giants. Week 3, we had a bevy of turnovers. The Falcons game might have been the first time we didn't turn it over all season long. And if we had turned it over a single time in that game, maybe we don't win. Maybe we don't find ourselves on the right side of the score. So I can't stress to you how important not turning it over is in general, but specifically in this week, the Saints thrive off of the turnover. And I'll elaborate on that when I get to the defensive side of the football. But they thrive off of generating turnovers. And we can't feed into that. We got to take care of the ball. And I talked about this when we took our first look at the Saints yesterday. They're a very opportunistic defense in their secondary. They're ball hawks. Their middle linebacker, Demario Davis, ball hawk. All right. Malcolm Jenkins, ball hawk. You make mistakes around these guys, Williams, ball hawk. They'll make you pay. So we've got to make sure we take care and protect the Duke. It is imperative this week, more so than any other week this season. Washington's defense versus the Saints' offense. First key, start faster. Last week, they said, hey, we held them to a field goal. They said, hey, that was a fast start. Okay, start faster then. Start faster. No points this week. Let's strive for that. It seems like every first set of downs, we get them to 3rd and long. I think against the Bills, it was 3rd and 15, conversion. And against the Falcons, I think it was 3rd and 13, conversion. I think they might have got a PI on theirs, though. Whatever the case may be. We can't allow this to continue. This is getting old fast. These long drives to start games that are aided by penalties and long down and distance conversions, this shit has to end. Why not this week? This is as good as any week to have it end, okay? Let's cut out the tomfoolery and let's force the team to punt us the ball or turn it over on their opening possession. I think this is a good week for that. Let's start faster this week. Next key to the game, 3rd down defense. Look, who am I talking to? I'm preaching to the choir. Y'all know what time it is on 3rd downs. If we're not the worst 3rd down defense, well, we got to be close. We're terrible on 3rd downs, man. In week 1, what were the Chargers? 13 of 16? What were they? 14 of 18? Some ridiculous number. The Falcons were 10 of 16 last week. I'm amazed that we won the game. Luckily enough for us, two of those six stops came on the 2 out of the 3 final possessions, and of course the third possession ended in an incompletion on a Hail Mary to end the game. But the 2 possessions prior to that, we got 2 third down stops. 2 of our 6 in the game out of 16. We can't be giving it up at that kind of clip, man. Are you crazy and thinking you're going to win? 10 of 16? It's a 70% clip. How are you? I'm still amazed that we won the game. It's amazing. It's got to be better, man. We've had one game this season when the third down defense hasn't been atrocious, and that was the Giants in week 2. They were 3 of 10 in that game, were the Giants. Every other game has been an atrocity. The Chargers game was one of the worst I've ever seen in my life. The Bills were 9 of 15. That's well over 50%. And the Falcons were 10 of 16. Like, you got to be kidding me here. We got to be better on third downs this week, man. Can't allow the Saints to kill us on third downs like everybody else has. That's a big point of emphasis for me this week. It's getting off the field against the Saints and getting the football back to the offense. The next key to the game, and I did this last week with the Falcons and kind of keep pointing out key players. When you don't have a lot of weapons, but you got key weapons, these are the guys you need to key in on. This is when you do this. Now, when you're playing against a team like Tampa Bay, where they've got like 8 dudes that can kill you, then you don't need to single out anybody in particular, because if it's not Mike Evans, then it's Antonio Brown. If it's not Antonio Brown, then it's Chris Godwin. If it's not Chris Godwin, then it's Gronk. If it's not Gronk, then it's Leonard Fournette. If it's not Leonard Fournette, then it's, and you just keep going and going and going. It's Cameron Brate, and you just keep going down the list. Or it's Scotty Miller. Anybody can get you at any time. You got too many dudes. That's not the case for the Saints. It wasn't the case last week. I told you there was 3 guys, and those 3 guys kicked our ass last week. They didn't do enough, but damn it, they were close. This week, Marquez Callaway is really the true one-threaded receiver. Now, they got another guy, I'm going to name him too, Deontay Harris, who's a small, like 5'6" speedster who we'll see on punts and kickoffs. He's dangerous too, but I'm not as concerned with him. Only if we blow coverage am I concerned with him. Marquez Callaway is the guy that Jameis looks for. That's his go-to guy right now. With no Michael Thomas, with no Traquan Smith, that's the guy that he's kind of circling and trying to get the football to. That's his Mike Evans in this offense, essentially, right now. And we got to take him away. He can't be a factor. Number 1 can't be a factor in this game. Juwan Johnson, I talked about him briefly. He's become a massive red zone target for them at about 6'4", converted wide receiver to tight end. He's playing really well for them. He's a big guy, long arms, long legs, outstanding catch radius. He's a guy that we'll have to, take notes on. And we've been hurt by the tight end. I'm not telling you anything you don't already know. He looks like Jared Cook. He plays like Jared Cook. Jared Cook kicked our ass in week 1. It could get ugly if we don't do what we need to do against Juwan Johnson in this game. He's going to be a guy that they're going to target in this football game. And if we're not careful, he can tear us a new asshole. And then Alvin Kamara. I talked about Deontay Harris, excuse me. We need to make sure we keep tabs on number 11 where he is at all times. And Alvin Kamara is the focal point of their offense. He does everything for them. He runs it. He catches it. He's the guy you got to stop. You can't stop him. You're going to have a long day at the office. And I throw Taysom Hill in there too, but they're only a few set of snaps where you're going to have to deal with Taysom Hill. I'm not as concerned with him, but you know what? When number 7 comes in the game, you know what it is. You know what he's coming in to do. He ain't coming in to sling it. I mean, it would be a change of pace if he comes in and acts like he's going to run and then chucks it deep. And he's done that before. But we already know what it is. He's coming in to run that bitch. He's coming in to inflict pain and punishment. And if we tackle like we tackled last week, he will inflict pain and punishment, and he will embarrass us like he did the Giants defense last week. He's a big, big boy, and he's a bad, bad man. you better come with your hard hat and your lunch pail and your thermos ready to go. It's going to be a long day. But Kamara is the guy. He's the guy. It all starts and really ends with him. You slow him down, you got a chance to really stymie the Saints offense. Speaking of which, stop the run. Make Jameis Winston beat us. Notice I didn't say, let's slow the run down. No. Stop the run. Not slow it down. Stop the run. Okay? This is a big deal. Because if you don't stop their rushing attack, they're going to bleed clock. And what they really want to do, and Ron said it at the very end of his presser today, and I've been harping on this, and I told you guys this, I think, Wednesday night when we were live, and I might have reiterated it yesterday. Jameis throws a hell of a deep ball. And Ron, at the end of his presser, says, I'm really concerned about his deep ball. He doesn't miss deep. You know, there's certain guys in the league where if they get an opportunity downfield, even if the coverage is tight, they drop the shit in the bucket. Jameis is one of those dudes. You can say what you want about Jameis Winston, and we all know he can play. But Jameis don't miss the deep ball when you give him opportunities, man. He ain't going to miss. This ain't one of those situations where we have a busted coverage and somebody's wide open and the ball's going to skip off of a receiver's hands. He's going to drop that shit right in the bucket. Almost like he walked up and handed it to him. Partner. We have to stop the run because if you don't, it sets up play action fake. You got to pull another defender into the box. And now they get that look over the top for Jameis to take those shots. That's when shit gets ugly. We have to stop the run. And I can't emphasize this enough. Their offense looks totally different than it did when Drew Brees was there. At moments notice, Drew Brees was fully capable of taking over a game and throwing it 44 times and throwing for 378 yards and 3 touchdowns and beating you. That's not how this offense is set up anymore. If they can't run it, if they can't remain balanced, they struggle. And it's proven in the first 4 weeks of the season. In the games that they've been able to remain balanced, protect Jameis, they've won. In games where Jameis had to do more than is usually required of him, they've lost. And something else goes with that equation too, and I'm going to tell you that in a second. But just know, if Alvin Kamara is getting it done on the ground, and they don't have a ton of guys, the depth that they used to have at running back, it's gone. Latavius Murray is no longer on the roster. They had this young guy, Tony Jones Jr. from Notre Dame, who was playing really well. He's hurt. Now they got other guys. They got Ty Montgomery, who's a Swiss Army knife. He can run it. He can catch it. He's a receiver. He's a running back. He's whatever you need him to be that week. He can run the football. They got a guy, Dwayne Washington, who's been in the league for a little while. He can run the football. But don't none of them dudes scare me. Alvin Kamara scares me. And if we're not careful, he will dig in our ass. So we have to key in. Treat him like you treat Christian McCaffrey. Treat him like you treat Saquon Barkley. Wherever he goes, a crowd of eyeballs need to follow. And maybe they'll use that to their advantage. But he can't be the one that gets us. We got to stop the run and make Jameis Winston beat us, because if you do that and you make enough plays, all it takes is 1 or 2 in the course of a game, you'll force a turnover from Jameis. It doesn't take much. But if Jameis is allowed to babysit, you got no chance. And that's what they've done in their wins. They've allowed Jameis Winston to babysit. We can't allow him to babysit. They want to win, Jameis Winston has to be the reason. And if they do win that way, you tip your cap and you say, our defense ain't shit. And you tip your cap and you take your L and you move on. But they shouldn't beat us that way. They haven't beaten anybody else that way. Why us? I don't know. Stop asking. Last key to the game. This is big. This might be the biggest key defensively. Might be the biggest key of all the keys I've said. Well, it probably goes hand in hand with the other key that goes with this key. Force at least 1 turnover. Now, we need to protect the ball on offense, and I've already stated that. I said, this is the most important game to protect the football. Why do I say that? In the Saints' 2 wins, they haven't turned it over once. In the Saints' 2 losses, they've turned it over at least once. Turned it over once against the Giants. It was a big one. They had a touchdown 2 plays before. It got called back and nullified due to a holding penalty. 2 plays later, Jameis Winston is picked off. Huge play in the game. That touchdown would have bust that game wide open. They win. Instead, he throws a pick. Giants hang in there, and they ultimately come back and win. He threw 3 interceptions against the Carolina Panthers. 3 of them things. And that ass whooping. If we can force at least 1 turnover. He was clean in the Packers game. He was clean in the Patriots game. If we can force at least 1 turnover, our chances of winning this game increase exponentially. They go from, it's a 50-50 chance, right? They could beat us, we could beat them. It goes from 50% to like 85-90%. Even if we turn it over once. The Giants had a turnover in that game. They picked Daniel Jones off. Giants had a turnover. But it didn't matter. The Saints turned it over. That's the thing that matters. If they turn it over, now we can't turn it over 3 times. They turn it over once. But if we can get them to turn it over, we're going to win this football game. Just 1 time. That's it. Anything else they want to do, that's icing on the cake. We need at least 1 in this game. We haven't forced or produced a turnover since week 1. Let that sink in. No turnovers versus the Giants in week number 2. No turnovers in week 3 versus the Buffalo Bills. We got the kick, the pop-up kick. That's not a turnover. The Bills never possessed that football. And no turnovers last week against Atlanta. We're due. We are due to produce a turnover. I can't think of a better week to have it happen than this week here. So those are my keys to the game. That's behind enemy lines. Let's finish up this show with my final outcome for this contest. So this is the score I gave on the Saints hit that I did. I really don't think the Saints make it to 30. I really don't. But then I looked around and I said, who the hell are we stopping from getting to 30? The Falcons were averaging 16 points a game and hadn't even come close to sniffing 30 before they met us. Well, 25 is close, I guess, but. And we gave up 30 to them. And we gave up an easy 30 to them. Saints, they scored 38 in week 1. They haven't come close, really. You know, they had the 26 points against the Patriots, but, man, I don't know if he threw 3 interceptions against the Panthers. They forced 3 interceptions of Mac Jones when they destroyed the Patriots a couple of weeks ago. I think that's what it was. But they did turn it over. I think Jameis had 2 interceptions that game against the Panthers, I believe. Either way, I don't think they should score 30 on us. Honestly, I wouldn't be shocked if this is the week the defense wakes up. I wouldn't be shocked. But until they prove it to me, I'm tired of, waiting. I'm like the kid whose dad called and said, hey, son, I'm coming to pick you up. And you looking out the window and you waiting and you keep waiting and you keep waiting. And then you ask your mom, hey, where's dad? And she said, son, I don't know if he's coming. I'm kind of like that kid. I'm tired of waiting by the window for the defense. When are they going to show up? And I keep asking, hey, babe, when's the defense going to show up? And she's like, honey, I don't know, babe. I don't know if they're coming. And then I look like I'm about to cry. But then I realize you already know how this goes. You already know how the game goes. So this week, I'm not going to hold my breath. I'm just going to assume that they're going to score 30, but we're going to score 32. That's what G's do. Find a way to have 1 more than the opposition on the scoreboard. It doesn't have to be pretty. It just needs to be gritty and, most importantly, a dub. And I think Heineke, he did it again, finds a way to get us to 3-2 and give us a fighting chance on the schedule moving forward. What says you Leave it in the comment section. Score and more. What happens in this game? Can we get the win? Leave it down in the comment section. Can't wait to hear from all of you out there. It's going to do it for me, your man Louie T, here on Washington Football Nightly. I am a Washington fan, etched in burgundy and gold. My Washington spirit will never die. Washington spirit will never fold until we meet again. Hail to our beloved Washington football team. Hopefully they get it done. You know what it is. If you haven't already done so, subscribe to the LouieTeeNetwork for more great content. Turn on your notification bell and also hit the like button, as that helps this channel grow immensely. Fellas, you know what it is. We back home. Protect the turf. Protect the house. Most importantly, bring back. And this is the perfect week to do this. The dub.
Here comes the diesel. Here comes the diesel. There's the snap, hand to Riggins. Good hole. He's got the first down to the 40. He's gone. The 35, the 30, the 20. He's gone.